Hi everyone, I'm Claire and welcome to Wright Brothers National Memorial.
This is Fort Raleigh National Historic Site.
And Cape Hatteras National Seashore.
And welcome to the national parks of the Outer Banks of North Carolina. There's so much to do and see here, so let's check it out. Here at Wright Brothers National Memorial, we explore the story of Wilbur and Orville Wright, two brothers from Dayton, Ohio, who, through experimentation, hard work, dedication, perseverance, a little bit of failure, and a lot of learning, managed to fly the first ever controlled, powered, manned, heavier than air plane. Wilbur and Orville made the arduous journey here from Dayton, Ohio between 1900 and 1903. For the first 2 years, they were living in a tent. In the second 2 years, they were in a shack, and they actually had a kitchen to cook on. For the first 3 years that they were here, they weren't even doing any flying experiments. They were just gliding, trying to manage the control in the air. So they would jump off of Big Kill Devil Hill right behind me and try to get as far as they could. And finally in 1903, they decided that they had mastered control and they were going to move on to powering this thing. So they built an engine, they created propellers and put it onto their flyer. And it was finally on December 17th, 1903 that they made that successful first flight. Aviation technology took off in leaps and bounds after this first flight in 1903. Soon we were crossing the English Channel and then crossing oceans. Then we were flying around the world. And then we're into space. We go to the moon. Now we're on other planets. The Wright brothers' dream of getting into the air and pushing the limits on what was possible has inspired millions of people. Neil Armstrong, when he was on the moon, had in his pocket a piece of the original 1903 Wright brothers flyer, and now we have it in the museum today. And in fact, there's so much to do here. We have the museum, which explores the full story of the Wright brothers. We have the flight room with the reproduction of the 1903 original flyer. We also have the reconstructed camp building, so you can see what it would have been like to live and work here in the fall on the sand dune. We have the first flight boulder that marks the exact spot that Orville took off from the very first time. We have the monument at the top of Big Kill Devil Hill, the Art Deco style granite monument, on the same hill where they did their gliding experiments from. On the other side of the hill, we have the first flight sculpture, which was put in for the centennial of the first flight. And this is life-size, and you can walk among the people that were there that day, and it really captures the emotions well. There's so much to do and learn here, so hopefully I'll see you soon.
Here at Fort Raleigh, this is the site of the first English settlements in North America. If you've heard of Jamestown, if you've heard of the Pilgrims, this is the beginning of the story here. This is also the place where Algonquin people had lived for 800 years before they met and interacted with the English immigrants. This is a site during the Civil War where over 3,500 African Americans made their way to Roanoke Island and built what we call a freedmen's colony as they made their journey on the Underground Railroad. This is a place where you can step back in time and try to imagine what life was like. Can you imagine being an English colonist and stepping on board a wooden vessel, a small wooden vessel, and sailing for 3 months across an ocean to an unknown land? Can you imagine having lived here your whole life as an Algonquian, all of a sudden seeing these newcomers arriving and interacting with these different people from a different place? Can you imagine what it would be like for one of the Freedmen's Colony members to set foot on Roanoke Island and gain their freedom for the very first time? Fort Raleigh has a lot of different activities that you can enjoy. There's trails that you can walk. There are 2 soundside beaches that you can enjoy. There's a visitor center that has artifacts dating over 400 years old that have been found here in the park. There's ranger programs. You can join us and try to learn a little bit more about the lost colony and see if you can uncover that mystery for yourself. There's also picnic grounds and an outdoor theater called the Lost Colony Outdoor Drama. So if you're visiting in the summertime, you can come see Broadway outside.
Here at the seashore, we have 70 miles of beaches. And so most people who come to the seashore like to engage in beach activities, whether that's swimming, shell collecting, or just sunning themselves on the beach. But there's so much more to do here on the seashore than just what you typically would think of. Here at Hatteras National Seashore, there's so much cultural history that people don't realize, whether that be lighthouses and the light keepers themselves and their amazing history, life-saving stations, some of the war activity that's taken place from Civil War to World War I, World War II, all the way down to Blackbeard, the pirate. Is kind of Ocracoke Island was kind of a little home area for him, and that's actually where he perished. So there's plenty of things to learn about, but it's also not just history. There's a lot of nature and natural stuff to be able to do, whether that be sound side or ocean side. We have a lot of nesting shorebirds, and so people will come and check out those birds. But maybe even more popular is in the summertime the sea turtles, mostly loggerhead turtles, but there's a couple others. They come and nest here, and whenever those baby turtles kind of come out, and we call it a boil because there's so much activity. It's almost like a pot of water boiling, but to be able to see those little sea turtles race towards the beach is something spectacular. There's so much to do and learn here.
Whether you like to learn about history or science, like to get out and explore, like fishing or swimming, or just like to sit and relax, there's sure to be something exciting for you to do here in the national parks of the Outer Banks of North Carolina.